Here we go.
Hey, I'm Jack Hughes from Wang Chung.
Hey everybody, this is Ivan from Men Without Hats.
Hello everybody, this is Francis Dunnery from It Bites.
Hi everyone, this is Andy from Modern Romance.
Hi everyone, this is Charlene.
Hi, this is Dennis Seaton from Music EU.
Hi, I'm Nick Heyward.
Hi, this is Kevin from Fiction Factory.
And you're listening to the 80s Rewind Show podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host,
Rob, the face for Radio Burgess.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, it's the 80s Rewind Show podcast with me, Rob, the face for Radio Burgess. And welcome along to this special edition. It's the greatest hits. I've had an absolutely amazing year interviewing all the artists. So I've done your greatest hits of the interviews, giving you some of the best bits, the deep cuts and the top choice of all the interviews, just to give you a flavour of the podcast. And you might have missed an episode and think, I really want to hear that one. Well, you can go into the archive. You can find the podcast on all the streaming sites. Also, if you go over to the official website, www.the80spod.com, that's www.the80spod.com, you'll find all the episodes on there, plus more about me and the podcast. So please like, share and subscribe, and a massive thank you to anyone that's followed the show from the start. Anyway, let's get to it. First up, we've got Jack Hughes from Wang Chung, who had hits with Dance All Days, Live and Die in LA, and Everybody Have Fun Tonight, to name just a few. And I was talking to Jack about working with the legendary David Geffen and also their fantastic album Points on the Curve. And was it true David Geffen changed the name? Is that right?
So we did the Arista album. At the end of that process, I wrote Dance All Days. And Dance All Days was clearly a sort of hit song. There was a very different sense from people when then they heard that track. You know, it's kind of suddenly our publishers wanted to invite us out for lunch and stuff. You know, and it's all like we never met them before, really. And then we did a version of Dance All Days with Tim Freeze-Green. Tim Freeze-Green was at that time working with Talk Talk. And was like considered to be state of the art, but also experimental. The sort of Nigel Godrich of his time, I suppose, you know. But the experience of working with him was tough, actually, because it was kind of like he wanted to make the record, basically, and then have me sing on it. Yeah. And I didn't like what he did with it. I don't think any of us did, you know.
Jack Hughes of Wang Chung there, talking about recording the album Points on the Curve. If you've not heard it, it's a fantastic album. Check it out, get it, Spotify it, download it, buy it, however you can get your hands on it. You'll love the album. Okay, we're moving on to Nick Heyward from Haircut 100, who had fantastic hits, such as Fantastic Day, Love Plus One, and Favourite Shirts, Boy Meets Girl. He's an absolutely lovely guy, and we spoke so much about music, I almost forgot to ask him some questions. So when I remembered I was actually interviewing him, I asked him about his first guitar, his love for Status Quo, and of Queen. Guitar-wise, is it Gretsch you used to play a lot of?
Well, my first was Telecaster, because I was so into Quo.
Right, wow.
I was into early Quo, like, you know, Down Down and Caroline and all the like basic rock, because I was really into basic rock, like Quo and Montrose. I wasn't into Led Zeppelin, funny enough. I wasn't into sort of avant-garde rock. I was into just real basic rock. There was something I really liked about it. You know, when Down Down kicks in, you've got this very simple riff. Down, down. You know, all their songs start off with this really simple riff, and then when the drums kick in, again it's that, and then the bass is there when the bass kicks in, and I can still listen to that now with the same. It's like as fresh as a daisy. Yeah, absolutely. I will never get bored of that song. And same with Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, first time I heard that, it blew my head off. I couldn't believe how beautiful music could be. Nobody had ever heard anything like that before. Yeah, it was out there. It was really out there. I mean, I thought the Seven Seas of Rye was. I loved that song. Yeah, but and that's what I kind of that got me into music first, because I just thought I loved intros. Really, how they just. Seven Seas of Rye had a brilliant intro.
Nick Heyward there, talking about his love for Queen, Status Quo, and his first guitar. Next up, we've got the fantastic Owen Paul, who couldn't sleep one night and accidentally stumbled into an international smash hit. So here's Owen telling me the history of how he found the song "You're My Favourite Waste of Time."
Another half hour, another hour goes past. Still can't sleep.
Yeah.
Still can't sleep. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not stressing about what we're going to do or anything. I'm just blindly insomnia type, right? And whatever. And I thought, Owen, don't even try and go to sleep. Just give it a break. Let's just find something to watch.
Yeah.
So I got this VHS tape out, one of many, and it says on the side, Bette Midler in concert. I thought, okay, let's try that, see what that's like. So it's the time when she was doing this sort of massive, gigantic shows where she's been a mermaid on a wheelchair and all this weird, all these weird dance routines and things and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, this will keep me awake. So this is now like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So the show's going on, and I'm thinking, okay, I like her, and she's good, and she's very great showbiz lady, and got great history.
Yeah.
Really sing a thing, right? Anyway, she comes to this section of the show, and she's going to sing a medley of songs, right? So it's a little snippet of 4 or 5 songs that she likes.
Yeah.
Right? So she sings, "Everyone's Gone to the Moon," which is a song I thought, brilliant track.
Yeah.
Great choice. And then she sung something else, a little bit of that, and the orchestra playing a little bit of that. And then suddenly she went, "You're mine, you're my favorite." And I was like, whoa, hang on, what's that? Seriously.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. I was like, now I'm wide awake.
Owen Paul there discussing You're My Favourite Waste of Time. And next we go over to one of the most underrated voices in the 80s, of my opinion, Dennis Seaton from Musical Youth. And here me and Dennis are discussing the band's history with the song Pass the Dutchie. Pass the Dutchie is the big song you're known for, isn't it?
Yes.
And
yes.
It's a cover from the Mighty Diamonds. You were playing that live for a while, is that right? It came from playing live?
Yes. Well, what happened was, when we used to rehearse, because we couldn't play our instruments in the house, because we used to go and rehearse in Freddie's house.
Mm.
And every weekend we'd listen to the reggae charts and see which song we wanted to sing.
Yeah.
So what we did was, we chose that song because Pass the Dutchie was the number one song at the time. And what we did was, we just said, right, we need to add something. But we never changed it to Dutchie. We just kept with Dutchie.
Right.
And it was only when, because it was the number one reggae song at the time, people loved it.
Yeah.
So then what we did was, we just kept playing it and we added it to the set. Because it was we loved the song anyway.
Yeah.
And then when Calvin added his bits, we never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
It was only when we did a support gig with Culture Club at Heaven, which was the biggest gay club in London at the time. Probably still is now. But anyway, don't matter. When we performed Past the Dutchie, there's 3,000 people in the venue, went absolutely ballistic. They went nuts.
Wow.
They went absolutely nuts. The A&R guy, the head of A&R, was there from the record company, MCA. And he said at the gig, he said, look, this song, is there any way you can change the lyric? And we said, well, we don't know. We hadn't recorded, because back then they used to make you demo your album.
Right.
And we hadn't demoed the album yet. They knew the songs that we performed because they were our originals. So when we went in, we recorded that the weekend we did the demo for the album. And that was, we used to do demo tapes for record companies.
Yeah.
When we recorded the demo, we did 2 versions of that song. So the first version was with Dutchie, and the second version was just Dutchie. We went back, all we did was play it back and said, well, what are we going to change the lyric to? And the manager, he said, look, Dutchie. And we went, yes. And we jumped up and down like we did. And went, right. So all we did was change the lyric.
Yeah.
Where it says, how does it feel when you got no herb? We just changed it to, how does it feel when you got no food?
The wonderful Dennis Seaton there talking about Pass the Dutchie. Dennis is such a lovely guy. We were talking on the phone there, and he was at an awards ceremony, and he was actually rehearsing and speaking to me in between the breaks. What a lovely fella. Now coming up, we've got another legend of the 80s, Junior Giscombe, who had a hit with Too Late, and also this track which he discusses, Mama Used to Say.
I used to do handmade shoes, mate, and I used to work in a heel bar. Started out doing handmade shoes, did that for 3 years, qualified. And
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I did shoes for Paul Newman. I did shoes for the Queen, for Charles.
Blimey, that's really good.
Yeah. This was all back in the day. So,
you're not going to say this is where I got the soul from, are you?
No. No. This was I was doing a pair of shoes, and the girl came into the heel bar, and she was stunning, and I wanted to talk to her, so we started chatting, and I asked her age, and at the time I would have been 23. She said she was 18, and I thought, Jesus, I can't tell you right age, I'm 23. That's like, what, 5 years? She's like, no, mate. So she asked me mine. So I said, I'm 20. And I started laughing, right? I went home and I was telling my mum the story. She said to me, I've been telling you, you keep rushing to get old. And that was it.
The fabulous Junior Giscombe there, who's still gigging today. He's out and about. If you get a chance to see him live, he's amazing. So when I make the show, I always try to contact guests that I absolutely love from their records. And one of them was the Safety Dance from Men Without Hats. And I contacted them and I never expected a response. And I did. I got one and I spoke to Ivan from Men Without Hats and he could not have been a nicer person. And we spoke about the track Safety Dance and its origin.
Yeah, well, this is a true story. I was, it was the dying days of disco, the end of the 70s. And in the discotheques, every now and then, the DJ would sneak in Blondie's Heart of Glass or Rock Lobster by the B-52s, and we would just go crazy. Hey, wow, new wave. And we'd get up and we'd start pogoing, which is just jumping up and down, bouncing off each other, the precursor to the mosh pit and to slam dancing. And the bouncers and the people dancing around us had no idea what was going on, thought we were fighting. So we started getting kicked out every time a new wave song would be playing. And I literally went home and wrote a song about it. It was just too much. I was getting tired of getting bounced. We won in the end, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the album version to the single is different. So was that a decision you made, or was that a record company decision to make it different? That
was a record company decision. It was one of those things. They said, you guys got to do a 12-inch. What's that? Oh, you just take the song, you stretch it out a bit, I said, okay. And I was trying to emulate Grandmaster Flash.
Right.
I said, those guys, they're talking. They do all this talking stuff. We got to do some talking on it. If we're going to stretch it out, let's do some talking stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's it, the spelling and the talking and
the video is really unusual for that song. It's just
It is. I think that's one of the things that gives it its lasting power, because everybody was expecting some spiked-haired guy with pointy shoes and zippers all over his clothes, and they got like some kind of Peter Panish, Robin Hood kind of, who knows what it is, and so it's kind of timeless. You watch that video now. I mean, you watch a lot of other videos, you kind of laugh and chuckle and look at their hair, look at the,
Yeah.
And this one you can't really do that, because it's like, wow, this is like, could have been shot yesterday. It's timeless. It's like a Western.
The amazing Ivan from Men Without Hats there, and he's absolutely right. I could watch the video over and over again, and it's completely timeless. You'd never know it was recorded in the 80s. Could have been the 70s. Could have been the 60s, when they got colour, obviously. But it's brilliant. He's absolutely right. And now we're popping up to Scotland to speak to Kevin Patterson from Fiction Factory, and he explained to me where the band got the name.
So Chick had drawn up a list. Fiction Factory was on the list, and it just seemed to fit what we thought we were trying to do, which was write music for other people or write songs for other people. We weren't really a band, hence the fiction of being a band, and the factory of writing songs a bit like, Motown or sort of really stupid, grandiose ideas. The Perth version of Motown, I don't think so. But in those days, you dream big. And you that's really where it came from, was what we were trying to do.
What I love about it as well is, I was thinking about it the other day, it has that very sort of German synthesizer, 1984 sort of sound to it, Fiction Factory, it's like Department S, and it has that wonderful sort of period sound to the name as well.
I think so. I think it does paint a picture, and I think it is something that has been adapted by other people subsequent to that. And I think, I don't know, obviously we're not overly calculating about it, but with hindsight, it seems to have, it seems to be something that it is possible for you to say in German or French or whatever, and it doesn't sound too silly.
It's like if Kubrick had made Clockwork Orange in the 80s, you would have had Human League, you would have had Fiction Factory, Heaven 17. They've all got that sound to the names. And Fiction Factory is one of those perfect names where you don't know what it is, but you can only imagine it's something austere. The fantastic Kevin Patterson there from Fiction Factory telling me how the band got their name. Now on to It Bites, and a man that now tours as Tombstone Dunnery, Francis Dunnery from the band It Bites, and he tells me how the band formed.
It was just around the clubs. We started doing cover numbers, me, Bob and Dick, and then we knew John. John was an incredibly talented kid. He was only like 16 or something, or 17, down in Whitehaven in this like rough housing estate called Meyer House. But he was brilliant, old John. He was absolutely brilliant. He was one of them, you could play him anything and he'd just play it right back for you, John. He's incredibly talented, you know.
Yeah.
And we got together and we started doing like level 42 numbers. This is when level 42 just come out. So it was round about that time, maybe a year before that, or, you know, we were doing some pretty cool covers, you know, like, but we started to get gigs maybe one night a week or something, you know, and we had a bit of a reputation because we were absolutely mental. We used to get drunk and all that, and we were, you know, and I'm 6'4", so like I was like diving around the stage and like it was, we were just steaming drunk. Like sometimes you were that drunk you couldn't even sing, but we eventually got banned from all the clubs in Cumbria for pissing in pint glasses and all that and smashing things up. You know, we were definitely, we weren't goody two shoes bands. Sometimes I watch bands, especially the metal bands, because the metal bands are the nicest people in the world. I don't know whether you know that.
Yeah, I've heard, yeah.
Heavy metal fans and the bands, they are literally the nicest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. Like and I always think that all of them are dominated by their parents, all the fans, and they go out to these metal shows and they go, "Wah!" and they do that whole thing. But then they just go back to the bank where they work in the bank the next day and they kind of, "Oh, hello, you know, how are you doing?" But if dangerous people are people like Sean Ryder and people like that, it's that lot.
Yeah.
The people who are not grandstanding on being crazy or anything, that's the lot. And so It Bites were a bit like that. We were trying to like not really make a scene of being weird or crazy or whacked out or drunks or anything like that, but that's indeed what we were. You know, we were nuts.
The wonderful and engaging Francis Dunnery there from It Bites. And don't forget to check out Tombstone Dunnery on Facebook and on the web. He's got some fantastic material out there. And now on to some 80s punk, when I spoke to Ed Tudor-Pole and writing Swords of a Thousand Men. So with something like Swords of a Thousand Men, was it written for the image, or was it written just for the song and then the image came after?
Well, we were on the Son of Stiff Door, 3 months in a coach. We'd just been signed up. So after a while, you know, it's just like, well, it's the best sort of thing you can imagine. You play half an hour each night with 4 other bands in a rotating order.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is sex and drugs and rock and roll sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I did think it's my duty to write a hit song. If we've been signed up, the record company wants a hit record. So I'd go in the little carsy of the coach with my guitar, my acoustic, and just sort of start strumming. I thought, well, every hit song has a great rhythm.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's have the rhythm of Spirit in the Sky. You remember that one?
Yeah. Norman Greenbaum.
So I was just strumming that, and that's what Swords was meant to be.
Yeah.
That rhythm. But the lads couldn't quite. So I just played the same chords, which is just a 12-bar blues thing.
Yeah.
In B, trying to do the boogie rhythm. But I had no idea of the words. And then at the end of the 3-month tour, when we eventually got back in the rehearsal studio again, you know, it all came together, the tune, and we were lying over the words sort of thing. So we thought, well, this is a group, what we need is some words. What's it going to be about?
Yeah.
And then gradually, the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill. And our local pub was called The Castle.
Right.
So the opening line of that song, deep in the castle, back from the war. Well, it's deep in the castle pub, back from the tour. And it all just sort of, anyway, the words wrote themselves, and that was a very successful record. But it just came easy.
Ed Tudor-Pole there, a man that's punk through and through, and God love him for it, telling us how he wrote the song Swords of a Thousand Men. Next up, David Grant, telling us how he wrote the song Intuition.
Intuition. We started writing Intuition, and we had this bass line, the sketch. It started with the bass line. And I was like, I love this bass line. Let's come up with a tune. And Sketch was going, I've got this idea. You're my lady. And I was like, oh. we don't like that. We don't really do love songs. We can't do happy love songs. We're linked. We have to do, like, if it's a love song, it's got to be a cynical love song. So as we played around with it, we had that da-da-da-da. And then I wrote, the sketch, that was Sketch's melody. Then I wrote a verse. So let's write about childhood. Okay, so we started doing that. We started writing about our mothers, how they would always suss us out. And we were having a real laugh about it. And so once we'd written that, we then had that 4-syllable phrase, da-da-da-da, what's it going to be? And I can't remember which one of us came up with the word intuition. And it was it. That's it. And then Sketch said, let's put some steel pans on it. I was like, no! Why on earth do you ever hear funk music with steel pans? Come on. And he said something that I think was really a defining moment musically for that song and for maybe the Link sound. He said, yeah, but remember this. We're influenced by American music. We're not American. We have our own background and our own history and our own influences. Let's inject some of our background into this song. So it's like, yeah, why not? So we did. So we came up with bum, 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 bum.
So finishing up the greatest hits of the 80s Rewind Show podcast there, David Grant telling you about the history of the track Intuition. Thank you for joining me on this greatest hits journey, and please check out www.the80spod.com. That's www.the80spod.com, the website, because there's many interviews on there which I didn't cover in this greatest hits. I might do a second part, I don't know. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and tell your friends all about the show, and I'll owe you a cup of tea. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon.
The show is produced, edited and presented by Robbie.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review.